Patton Sports Videocast is brought to you by Snap Laces. Snap Laces' elite lacing system was designed for world-class athletes. They come in hundreds of color combinations so you can perform well and look great at the same time. Buy a set online today by clicking through the top image on mopattonsports.com. I want to thank you for joining us here on Patton Sports Videocast as we head into Week 6 of the high school football season here in Middle Tennessee. Alongside Kevin Smith, we are out at Overton taking in a practice, and they've got a big game this weekend. They've got McGavock coming in here.
Yeah, two really athletic, really explosive football teams. I'm really looking for a lot of open field tackling on both sides or for both defenses. They're going to have to be very good at that. And I'm looking for some big, 50, 60-yard offensive plays that could determine this football game. And obviously special teams always is a factor in big games like this.
We've talked about DeMontez Carlton, McGavock's quarterback, and he's a guy who obviously is going to be their impetus, their spark plug. They had a big win last week, 42-21 over Wilson Central, and he's the guy that has continually made them go here over, not just this year, over the last couple of years, really.
Yeah, and speaking of quarterbacks in this football game, we got two really good ones, two guys that can run and throw it, both from McGavock and Julius King from Overton. And offensively, both teams need to be able to control possession of the ball. They need to be able to keep the other offense off the field and then sprinkle in some of their big plays to get on the scoreboard and try to take an early lead.
Talked to Steve Williams earlier this week, and he really likes the offensive balance that Overton is playing with right now. Along with Julius King, he likes the two tailbacks, Tavarius Travis and Kimley North. Kimley North is a guy that we've been hearing about for about 3 years. It seems like he's about 23 or something.
Yeah, and I like both of them. We've actually been able to see them live, and both running backs are as good as advertised. And I don't believe Travaris is getting as much conversation as Kimbley is, and I'm really impressed with that young man, number 28. He also plays an outside linebacker position for Overton. Both of them are good runners. They can both get to the edge, but they're both not scared to run in between the tackles and get those tough yards. In the air, look for Theo Jackson and Elijah Pankey to be the two top targets. Say that quick. For Julius King as they go into this ball game. And both are, again, very good football players on the edge, and they also double up on defense. And both guys can make big plays, but what I like about both of them, especially Elijah, is he'll also run the 5-yard hitch route, the 10-yard curl route. He'll run an inside slant for you. He's not scared to go across the middle, but he can also give you big playability down the sideline on a vertical route. So they've got some weapons, and they're really fun to watch on Friday nights when they're clicking. Surprised to see so many guys going both ways for Overton? A little bit. You don't see that as much in 6A, but they're really talented players. And when you got talented players, you want to get your best 11 out there, and they're rotating in. And we've said that a little bit before, Mo. We think they're a contender in this region. The question is, do they have enough depth in these big ball games versus some teams that have just as much size and just as many players as they do? They've really bounced back from that season opening 16-8 loss to Stewart's Creek, rolled off 4 straight wins here, including last week. So Overton's on a little bit of a roll right now. And you brought it up, and Coach Williams talked about it. He likes his balance on offense. They're being able to run the ball and throw the ball. Julius is getting out a little bit more in the zone read out in the open field. And then defensively, they're running around causing turnovers, and that's allowing them to give their offense the ball back quickly. Steve also said that the last time they played McGavock is still in these guys' mind. They lost 28-27 double overtime opening round of the 6A playoffs last year, and it's been big this week. Yeah, and we think it's going to be a close game too, and we'll pick it later on. But Jay Gore does a great job with McGavock. We've touched on that. They're explosive offensively with a good running back and quarterback combo with some skill players on the outside, and then defensively they're doing the same thing. They're running around causing turnovers. And we go back to a little bit of this, Mo. We talk about penalties and turnovers. And I know we kind of beat that in the head every week, but it's so true. You can't turn the ball over, and you can't have costly special teams play, and that's going to be a big factor in this football game Friday night. Another big game over in Region 2 6A. Blackman goes up to Cookeville. Blackman coming off a tough 21-7 loss over at Oakland. Cookeville's 5-0, got a big game out of Vic Johnson, 355 yards, 4 touchdowns in their win over at Siegel. So Cookeville undefeated, Blackman 3-2, 1-1 in the region. Yeah, and Jimmy Maynard's doing a great job at Cookeville with this program. They're in a tough region that, they kind of came into the season wondering, how are we going to do this year in this brand new region with all the Murfreesboro schools? And they're showing that they can play. And Friday night, they got a really good opportunity to play a good Blackman team. I'm a little concerned for Blackman in the sense of they have had to play some serious competition to start the season and some smash mouth football versus some physical football teams. You got to turn around and play another physical opponent in Cookeville. It's hard to keep getting up for those type of games each week, and with the bumps and bruises that you get. If there's one team who's built to sustain all that, it is Blackman, because they can turn around and run the ball with a Taylor Dowdy, and they need to find a way to get a little bit more consistent in the passing game. But with their run game and their defense, they're built to kind of go through these physical matchups and hang in there.
Miller Armstrong suffered 3 interceptions last week, a little bit of a downturn for him, for a kid who has really played well in his first year as a starter after moving over from linebacker. Thomas Sowell, one of his top targets at tight end, they'll be looking to get him involved in the passing game.
Great hands by that young man. He's a really good football player. He blocks well at the line of scrimmage. They use him in an H-back, fullback type role, and then they also get him out in some slot situations and some screens and try to get him the ball. I'm really anxious to see the Cookeville offensive line and Vix Johnson this week. Can they run downhill as successful as they have been versus a Blackman defense who has been stout versus some really good competition?
I think this is a really interesting game for Cookeville. Again, they're 5-0, but their wins in region play are over Warren County and Siegel. They've also beaten White County and Livingston Academy, I think, and Upperman, which is an in-county rival. So, you know, their schedule may not have necessarily tested them the way Blackman's has to this point. Kind of a see if they're ready for primetime type game here.
Yeah, and I think it's going to show them right away, are they ready to compete with the Murfreesboro schools. Jumping right in here with Blackman, who we've talked about. We think, you know, if they can get a little bit more of a passing game, continue to limit their special teams mistake, they're a team that can make a lot of noise in the playoffs. And speaking of H-back fullbacks, let's not forget about Gabe Angel at Cookeville, an Ole Miss commit. This is kind of one of those games where you're going to see 2 really good fullback / H-back type players that, you know, you're kind of seeing in today's game where we're getting a lot of spread formations, and we're having that fullback type H-back that can catch the ball but can also block. You're going to get to see 2 of the best in Tennessee this week.
Another big game. Hillsboro coming off of a huge win against Hendersonville last week. They go over to Cane Ridge and to see what they can bounce back and do this time around.
Yeah, Cane Ridge played great defense in the first half, got run all over in the second half. Their quarterback had a good game with over 300 yards passing the football. Hillsboro, we got to ask ourselves, they showed us last week what they can do when they eliminate silly penalties and turnovers. The question is, you got really hyped up for Hendersonville. It's homecoming, it's a home game, it's on TV. You clicked on all cylinders, offense, defense, and special teams. Can you put 2 in a row together versus another good football team in Cane Ridge, who they played good defense and they can score offensively? Like you said,
Cane Ridge dropped a tough one to Beach last week after beating McGavock a couple of weeks ago, 33-14. So they've been a little up and down, got off to that 3-0 start, and looking to see if they can get some consistency going, like you said.
Yeah, and they better be ready defensively to stop the Jay Kings of the world and the Malik Flemings and DeAndre Alexander. Hillsboro has an offense that can turn around and hand the ball off to some good backs, but they can also big playability you with big strikes over the top of your defense. So the Cane Ridge defense has a tall order this week with some really good players from Hillsboro.
Really tough because you can't zero in on any one thing, and even in the passing game and in the running game, they've got, like you said, 2 really good backs with Jeremy Hill and DeAndre Alexander. Hillsboro does, and then they've got Jay King and Javante Patton and Malik Fleming lining up at tight end. Did you expect to see him go, as again, 2 ways as much as he is? This is a kid who is a Mercer commitment as a defensive back.
Yeah, I hate to do this, but we kind of just let the cat out of the bag that Malik is at tight end. I actually was joking with Coach Lowe how people not seen that yet, because when he's there, they're going to try to throw him the football because he is such a great pass catcher, and in that position, he sneaks through and get right up the seam, and people don't see it. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. I want to give their coaching staff a lot of credit for finding ways to get him involved offensively and hide him a little bit to get him the football. And, you know, let's talk about Hillsboro's defense. Cane Ridge is going to have a tough time. Now Hillsboro feels like they're healthy, and a lot of kids who've gotten reps. And you're going to have to try to run that football right at a guy like Ben Hutch, who's a 300-pound defensive tackle. It's going to be very difficult in there. Isaiah Hall, those guys played really well Friday night defensively, and they love their front 7, and it's going to be hard for Cane Ridge to run the football against those guys.
You know, Malcolm Swan has been a big presence for them up front as well, and they love Roy Hunter at linebacker. So, again, as you said, they feel like they were about as healthy on defense as they've been all year. So this could be a tough order for Cane Ridge. Mo Patton Sports Videocast is brought to you by Snap Laces. Snap Lace's elite lacing system was designed for world-class athletes. They come in hundreds of color combinations, so you can perform well and look great at the same time. Buy a set online today by clicking through the top image on MoPattonsports.com. John Mayer Builders proudly sponsors Mo Patton Sports Videocast. With over 1,500 homes built in Middle Tennessee, John Mayer Builders knows the importance of families and communities. They have numerous business awards to their credit, proving that John Mayer Builders is built to win. Like them on Facebook. John Mayer Builders, our reputation is building. At National Playmakers Academy, developing NPA athletes comes in threes. NPA develops its student athletes' academic, social, and football-specific skills. Next, NPA develops them for better exposure today, recruitment tomorrow, and college education through scholarships for the rest of their lives. We are proud of the outstanding athletes we have developed. We are more proud of the college graduates we have prepared. Work with National Playmakers Academy for developing gifted athletes into productive citizens. Kevin, another game we want to take a look at. Really interesting matchup, I think, as Christ Presbyterian Academy goes over to Ensworth.
Yeah, huge game in the sense that CPA has had a week off here to kind of rest and get ready for this football game, some extra preparation. And Ensworth had to go play JP2. Ensworth's been a little bit up and down this year, and offensively what they do well is run the football. And they got two good backs in Nicky Clifton and Darius Moorhead, and a quarterback who's coming into his own, Coleman Goodwin, that is playing better and better each week. Ensworth wants to win this game offensively. They're going to have to do a good job of running the football with some mixed-in play-action pass and control the clock. They really don't need to have CPA come on the field. And for CPA offensively, Mo, I think the key for them, or what I love that their coaching staff has done so far this year, is they're taking what the defense gives them. If it's one game where Zach Weatherly has to throw it for 348 yards versus a Pearl Cone, or if it's they got to turn around and hand the ball off 50 times, they're willing to do that. They're willing to take what the defense gives them. And I think that's where Ensworth's got to control the clock and keep that offense off the field.
I saw a couple of nights ago, Zach Weatherly is apparently committed to Tennessee Chattanooga, and I think that's a great get for UTC, and I think it's a great move for him. UTC is really an up-and-coming program in FCS, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit. I'm really proud and happy for Zach. Congratulations to him. Good program in Division I AA. And, talking a little bit more about CPA's offense, they got a couple of good backs too. Chip Omar, hopefully he's back and healthy and ready to play. They do a good job up front with their offensive line. Thomas Richard is going to have to make some plays on the outside. And let's not forget about Price Purdue, a receiver who's making big plays. He's jumping over people and making catches from Zach. So CPA's got a lot of weapons that they can go to offensively.
It's Joseph Richard. Thomas is at Missouri.
No, dang. Did I say Thomas?
You did, but it's all right.
I had Thomas.
We know who you meant.
Yeah.
Hey, talk a little bit more about Darius Moorhead, because I really like that kid. And we've talked a little bit about the tailback hierarchy at Ensworth, starting with Orleans Darkway, and then Corn Elder, and DeAndre Furby, and now Darius.
Yeah, they've always had good backs at Ensworth, and Darius is just another one. I actually think he's a little more versatile in the sense of they'll line him out at slot. He can play in the single back sets. He can also play in a two back set. He's just a kid that you can kind of get him all over the field and get him the football, and they're doing a good job doing that. I want to speak about another young man at Ensworth is Rodney Owens, a guy who's making plays at the receiver position and making plays in the secondary. He's got really good instincts in the secondary for Ensworth. Look for him to have a big game Friday night.
Henry County is 4-1. They lost their opener. They're not lost since. Won a big game last week against West Creek, 35-0. They go to Clarksville in a big region 7-5A game. Clarksville comes in undefeated 5-0.
Yeah, let's give Henry County some credit. They started off the season a little bit shaky on the defensive side of the ball, giving up a lot of passing yards, and they've been able to remedy that a little bit and play some good defense. A team that, Gallatin came into Paris a couple of weeks ago, and Henry County just smacked them in the mouth, and it was very shocking to see them shut down a Jordan Mason who had been tearing up the mid-state. So Clarksville better be ready to play some defense again this week like they did. They got some big stops, but they gave up a lot of yards to to Rossview last week, Henry County is going to present a lot of problems with them throwing and running the football and being physical.
Exactly. Henry County, with that win against West Creek, they have pitched 3 straight shutouts. First time in school history they've done that, so obviously the defense is getting it done up there for James Counts Jr. And like you said, Clarksville beats Rossview 42-35, had to come up with a big pick late in the game to hold on for that shootout win. But Racavian Poydras is a defensive tackle for Clarksville who is committed to Memphis, and like you said, he's kind of the key to that defense for them.
He's going to have to get, I don't want to say penetration, but he's going to have to get some push against the offensive line, try to blow up some of Henry County's run game. He's going to have to be able to run up and down the line of scrimmage and make plays for them. You know, Clarksville's going to need to call some turnovers in this football game. We've touched on this quite a bit in our video cast and podcast about teams who know how to win, and Henry County just knows how to win. They find ways to win. They've been in multiple state championship games over the last 5 years, and it's hard to beat those teams. And so you got to play almost a perfect game to beat a program like Henry County.
Wilson Central goes to Mount Juliet. Wilson Central coming off a tough 42-21 loss at McGavock last week. Mount Juliet's won back-to-back after an 0-3 start. I think they really got a lot of confidence out of their overtime loss at Ravenwood a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Mo, you try not to say losses are good, but in a sense that Mount Juliet was struggling and really had been shut down with 7 turnovers the week before and really struggled offensively. And we're able to come back against a good Ravenwood team and fight to the end and almost get that victory, and I think it's propelled them a little bit. What we continue to look for, and we spoke about this a little bit as well, Mount Juliet needs to be balanced if all possible. They need to run the football and throw the football, and they got to do a good job defensively of limiting big plays.
Wilson Central really likes to run the ball, and so that's defensively, as you said, it's going to kind of be Mount Juliet's focus there, slowing the run down and stopping the run.
Wilson Central is going to have to be able, they love to run the football mode, but they're going to have to be able to throw in some play action passes. They're going to have to be able to open up Mount Juliet a little bit, get them from loading the box all night long if they want to win this football game.
Those are 6 of our key games coming up this weekend. Another game we want to take a look at, though, BGA and Page. Those two will be playing for the first time since 1986, 88, something like that. So big game out in Williamson County.
Yeah, I'm really glad that these two teams got together. I think it's a great matchup here in kind of the Franklin area. 2 communities very close to one another, and it's a Page team that snuck up on us a little bit this year that we both picked against very early against Fairview, and they've just routed off win after win. They got a good quarterback that they really like. They got a running back that they really like, and some skill receivers. What I've liked about Page here recently, Mo, is they've been throwing and running about the same amount. They're giving you a heavy mix of run and pass, which early on they were trying to throw a little bit more. So I think if they can stay balanced versus BGA, they have a really good shot in this football game. We just go back to we love Clay Bedford, and we know he's a great player at the high school level, and it's hard to beat a kid like him and a BGA team who's rolling and has had 2 really quality wins here in the last couple of weeks against Briarcrest and USJ.
You talk about balance, though, and we talked on the podcast earlier this week. I think that's going to be a concern for BGA because Clay Bedford has thrown the ball a lot, had a lot of success in the air, particularly with Marcus Cawthorn. They've not really been able to establish that running game that's going to maybe allow them to make a deep run in the playoffs. And so at some point, if they're going to be everything they want to be, they're going to have to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, and I think the coaches would tell you that. I think they're very aware of that. And I think a couple things too is, you know, Marcus Cawthorn is a great player himself, and they got good chemistry together, but need to find a couple extra weapons out there to take some pressure off both Clay and Marcus and be able to find that run game or a couple other playmakers out on the edge to help BGA's offense moving forward.
Great teams have talent. They also have the necessary tools for success. BSN Sports delivers these tools whether your team needs uniforms, apparel, or athletic equipment to achieve greatness. Just like a winning teammate, BSN Sports is there for you. Their unmatched service ensures that you have best-in-class equipment for championship-level performance, plus uniforms and athletic apparel from the best brands in the industry to look your best when hoisting your trophy. At National Playmakers Academy, developing NPA athletes comes in threes. NPA develops its student athletes' academic, social, and football-specific skills. Next, NPA develops them for better exposure today, recruitment tomorrow, and college education through scholarships for the rest of their lives. We are proud of the outstanding athletes we have developed. We are more proud of the college graduates we have prepared. Work with National Playmakers Academy for developing gifted athletes into productive citizens. I2, Integrity Insurance. I2 Agency was started with one primary focus in mind, helping people. As a multi-line insurance agency, we do that in a variety of ways with a full portfolio of products. Whether it's life, health, dental, Medicare, annuities, or home and auto insurance, we design solutions that will meet your individual needs. Kevin, in Division 2AA, Father Ryan goes over to MBA, unbeaten, defending state champion MBA.
Talking about physical matchups and coming off of them, NBA just had a huge win on the road at McCallie. Now they're going on to face a Father Ryan team who's going to run right at them and present a little bit of an option game that you got to get ready for defensively. So, NBA is going to have to get ready and get their mind refocused after beating a really good McCallie team and coming back and preparing for some option football, and that's very hard to do.
And the thing about McCallie is they can be option when they've got Javon Craig back there at quarterback. Apparently it was Robert Riddle that they went with, and they threw it around a lot last week. So it's not like NBA saw a lot of that last week. And we've talked before, when you've only got a week to prepare for that type of offense, it can be a little challenging.
Yeah, it keeps you up at night as a defensive coordinator, and let's hope Ty Chandler's ready after 40 ball carries, that his legs are fresh and ready to go against Father Ryan, and because Father Ryan will present some challenges and some problems up front for an NBA team. They're going to slant and move a little bit. They have Jeremy Darvin up there that's a good football player, so this could be a little bit closer than I think people are expecting just because of the magnitude of the game NBA played in last week and the physicality of that football game.
You know, I was at MTSU back in the mid-'80s, and Boots Donnelly used to say the ball is not heavy. So, carrying it 40 times, that was no big deal. But for a young kid like a Ty Chandler, 40 carries might be a little bit much, but 200, well, not much, but a little bit more than he's used to. But 279 yards and 4 touchdowns, and they needed them all.
Yeah, and knowing the competitor he is, that he wants another 40 carries this week. So we're not talking about his competitiveness. Just, I actually hope and pray that his legs are ready to go, because I hope people get to come out and watch him play. Fun player to watch, and if you get a chance, you need to go watch him play before he graduates.
One of the top juniors in the area, probably. Another game, the Jeff Brothers Bowl. Nashville Christian goes up to Pope John Paul II. Brothers currently at NCS. He was at JP2 before he went over there.
Yeah, and this is a really good game and something that Nashville Christian needs to prepare them for the playoffs. That they're going to have to. They know who they're going to see. They're going to see a Trenton Peabody or a Union City who's going to play smash mouth football. They need to go up here and play this JP2 team, who's a little bit larger school than them, who's going to have some players with some size that are going to give them some looks that's going to get them ready for the playoffs. So I like that Nashville Christian's playing this football game.
We saw their quarterback Kyle Tidwell have a really good ball game last week. Nashville Christians. Obviously, we know about Daniel Batuli over there on defense, the Tennessee commitment at linebacker. They've got some nice pieces, and like you said, this is a game that when they come back and make their 1A postseason push, will help them out.
Yeah, JP2's got some skill players and some playmakers as well. They have a quarterback in Ben Brooks, who's actually a baseball commit to Memphis, kind of shows you how athletic he is. So they're going to present some problems for Nashville Christian's 3-3-5 stack defense. And on the flip side, Nashville Christian has an explosive offense too, with some really good players that you just touched on that are going to pose problems for JP2's defense. So I actually look for a high-scoring game in this one, in a contest that, again, Nashville Christian needs to have these type of ball games to get them ready for 1A playoffs. So I'm excited that they're getting to play this football game.
One of those explosive ball players, Mario McGraw, I think had a 78-yard punt return in last week's win against Joe Burns. So they do have some guys that for 1A can pose some problems. It'll be interesting to see how they step up and handle themselves against the JP2 team. Last week we picked a few games. I think we did okay. Let's see. Hillsborough-Hendersonville was one of the games that we picked.
Yeah, missed that one completely over here. But, again, we've talked about this and touched on this, and I don't want it to go, to the wayside, is that when Hillsborough's clicking and they don't have silly penalties and they don't have turnovers, this is a team who legitimately can win a 5A state championship. And on the flip side, so can Hendersonville. They just had a rough night there, kind of hit a lull. They're going to be fine. I love Terrell Carter's post-game comments saying that this won't happen again. He's a competitive young man. They're going to get back. They're going to get going again. Look for them to maybe see each other again in the playoffs down the road.
Ravenwood-Franklin was a game we talked about last week. We both took Ravenwood, and they won it 24-7, but they didn't win it quite the way we had anticipated because they didn't have their starting quarterback, Andrew Rapay. Instead, McCain Marrow comes in, throws for 191 yards and a pair of touchdowns, and they win that one.
And we've spoken about gutty performances, and a backup quarterback who waited his turn, got an opportunity, came in and led his team to victory. And then we've talked about the Chris Rowlands of the world, man. Again, another young man you got to see play football. He's just a fun kid to watch in high school. He's all over the field when coming to special teams. We're talking about slot receiver, running back. He scores in a multiple of ways, and he again showed up for Ravenwood when they needed him the most.
Blackman, Oakland. I had Oakland. You didn't.
Yeah, I had Blackman on that one. I still like the role Blackman is on. I like how they play defense. They're running around making plays. And the flip side is Oakland's got star power, and some of their star. I mean, Jacoby Stevens, just watch film on him or go watch him play. His instincts for the game are uncanny, and he makes plays when others have no chance of making those plays, and he turns defensive turnovers into touchdowns in a hurry. And when you can score on defense, you've got a really big chance to win the football game.
Here's how it went for Jacoby Stevens. He scored on a 35-yard run out of the Wildcat formation. He had an interception that set up a touchdown, and he had a pick six in a 21-7 ball game. You hear coaches talk about dudes. Jacoby Stevens is a dude.
I mean, he really is, and you can legitimately put him anywhere. He can rush the passer, he can drop, he can play in the middle of the field at free safety, he can play wide receiver, he can prove he can almost play almost be a running back at that Wildcat position. When you have a player like him, he can completely change the complexion of a game, and he sure did that Friday night versus Blackman.
We picked Rossview Clarksville. We both had Clarksville. Clarksville hung on in a shootout to win 42-35.
Yeah, kudos to Clarksville defense. Didn't do well basically the entire game, gave a lot of yardage, a lot of points, but when it mattered, got a stop, and then got another stop with an interception after Rossview was able to hold them without a first down and had 3 timeouts left. So good job by Clarksville's defense of stepping up when they had to.
Shelbyville with a big 39-31 win over Laverne.
Yeah, I like Shelbyville. They got good players, guys that have played a lot of football for them, and guys that are under the radar. Shelbyville's a team to reckon with, and another one in 5A that we think can make a good long run in the playoffs.
White House Heritage went over to Stratford and won a 35-20 game that was 35-6 at one point. I had the home team in that one.
Yeah, I did too, but at the same token, not too surprised. We have spoken that White House Heritage is the best 1-3 team in town. They got a good running back, they got a good offensive line, and they run a scheme that's hard to prepare for in wing tee. And they did a good job of converting Stratford's early turnovers into points and then holding the football late and running out the clock.
Logo My Logo continually beats the competition by 3 points. Service, expertise, selection. Beyond promotional products, Logo My Logo delivers incredible service to its clients. Their service is only matched by their marketing expertise in presenting their clients in the most professional light. Logo My Logo's broad selection means that their clients have multiple options to communicate their brand strongly. Premier marketing solutions require service, expertise, and selection. And Logo My Logo keeps finding a way to win by those 3 points. Great teams have talent. They also have the necessary tools for success. BSN Sports delivers these tools whether your team needs uniforms, apparel, or athletic equipment to achieve greatness. Just like a winning teammate, BSN Sports is there for you. Their unmatched service ensures that you have best-in-class equipment for championship-level performance, plus uniforms and athletic apparel from the best brands in the industry to look your best when hoisting your trophy. The law practice of Allen D. Hall, PLC is grounded in providing exceptional legal services with the utmost trust and integrity. Legal services Allen provides include employment law, confidential investigations, general business law, risk management, and regulatory policy interpretation and drafting. Ultimately, if you need consulting solutions, Allen D. Hall needs to be your choice. John Mayer Builders proudly sponsors Mo Patton Sports Videocast. With over 1,500 homes built in Middle Tennessee, John Mayer Builders knows the importance of families and communities. They have numerous business awards to their credit, proving that John Mayer Builders is built to win. Like them on Facebook. John Mayer Builders, our reputation is building. Our top 6 games from this week. Let's start with, we'll end with this one. How's that? Let's start with Blackman and Cookeville.
Yeah, I like Blackman. Cookville's done a great job, but I like Blackman's defense. I think Miller Armstrong's going to have a comeback game, if you want to say that. He's going to be back to his normal self, and I think Taylor Dowdy's going to get another 25 carry type night.
I like Blackman in this one. Like you said, coming off a loss, I think Taylor Dowdy is a guy that they're going to try to establish early on, and I think he's going to answer the call for him on the road in a big Region 2 6A game. Kevin, CPA and Ensworth, who do you like?
Man, this is a tough pick, and I hate, I don't like picking against CPA or Ensworth, but I'm gonna have to go with CPA in this one just for the fact that they're ranked number 1 in 3A. They're the defending 3A state champions. They're undefeated, and they just find ways to win with a veteran ball club. And Ensworth's young, they're getting better, but I think CPA at this point in the season is going to win this football game.
I like CPA in this one as well, and it's really an uncomfortable feeling. But picking against Ensworth, particularly at home, is a pretty dicey proposition. But I'm going with the Lions on this one, and we'll see how it goes. Wilson Central and Mount Juliet, who do you like?
I'm going with Mount Juliet. They're on a little bit of a roll here. I think they're doing a good job offensively and defensively. I think Wilson Central is struggling a little bit on both sides of the ball, so I'm going to go with Mount Juliet in this one.
I like that as well. Henry County going to Clarksville.
I picked against Henry County once this year. I'm not going to do it again. They're just a program that knows how to win on the road, and especially at home. I don't think I should ever pick against them in Paris, but I like what Henry County's doing offensively and defensively.
You're learning. I'm going with the Patriots. Let's see, who else we got here? Hillsborough Cane Ridge.
Yeah, I like Hillsborough, even though this is a kind of a classic game where a letdown could come into play and maybe some silly penalties, but I like them being healthy again, and I think they're hungry. I think these guys want to show that their run to the 5A runner-up last year was not a fluke, and they're ready to play, and I think they're going to win this football game.
I just think Hillsborough has enough firepower from different spots to give Cane Ridge some trouble on the when Cane Ridge is on defense. I like Hillsborough in this one as well. And this one here.
I love Overton. I think Overton is a roster full of kids that a lot of people in the mid-state area don't know about. And I think we're trying to talk about them a little bit more, but they got some really special players here. They're a good football team. If they can stay healthy, I could see them being a quarterfinal, semifinal type football team as the season progresses. I'm going with Overton.
I like Overton in this one as well. Again, just talking about their offensive balance and the different weapons that they have with Julius King, I like Overton in this one. That's going to wrap it up for this Mo Patton Sports videocast. For Kevin Smith, I'm Maurice Patton. We'll see you at the ball game.